Friends, this is a sample of perio chart. Whenever you get a question from periodontics in ACJ exam, in additional information, you always get something like this. This represents the condition of the periodontium of the patient in question. When you are given such kind of perio chart, then you are asked to come to a diagnosis based on this perio chart and maybe some other additional information that is given alongside with the perio chart. And when you come to a diagnosis, then you are asked about the treatment that you have to do to treat this condition. Sometimes just by showing you the perio chart, they may ask about the diagnosis of the condition, or they may give you different type of charts. Maybe this is a before chart, or they give you another chart that is after. So they may ask you, so what should we do when you look at before and after chart? Does the patient require any kind of periodontal surgery, or nothing should be done, or does patient need extraction of the tooth in question? All these things we will discuss in examples and of course in the discussion of the periodontic types of periodontal conditions. But let's first discuss what is a perio chart and the various things that make a perio chart. Friends, for a perio chart, you are given two surfaces. One is buccal or facial, second is lingual or palatal. Of course, lingual when it is a mandibular tooth and palatal when it's a maxillary tooth. The first part of the perio chart is tooth number, then PD means probing depth, then recession, then BOP, it means bleeding on probing, then mobility and furcation. Same is the case on the lingual or palatal side. Assume that a patient has come to you and you have started measuring the probing depth, or you have started probing the tooth of the patient, or you have started probing the periodontium of the patient. So first of all, you will probe on the buccal side, and when you are done probing on the buccal side at three various locations that I have already explained, that is mid buccal, mesiobuccal and distobuccal, then you will turn around on the tooth to probe the lingual surface or the palatal surface on the mesiolingual, midlingual and distolingual surface. Based on the readings that you get while probing, here 2 to 3 means that when the dentist he probed on the mesiobuccal, the reading came out to be 2 millimeter. On the midbuccal it was 2 millimeter, and on the distobuccal it was 3 millimeter. On the mesiolingual it was 2 millimeter, midlingual 2 millimeter, or mid palatal 2 millimeter, and 1 millimeter on the distolingual surface. Then on 1.5 means upper maxillary right second premolar. This is first molar, this is first premolar, upper right. 223, 241, 153. As you know, I have already told you that up to 3 millimeter is considered normal. Anything more than 3 millimeter is not considered normal. So here we have 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter. These are not normal. I will come to it later on to explain why I have marked these. Then there is recession. There is no recession on the buccal surface when it comes to 1.4. On 1.5, 1 millimeter of recession is present in the mid buccal surface. In case of 1.6, there is no recession on the mesiobuccal, but there is 1 millimeter of recession each on the mid buccal and distobuccal surfaces. Then there is bleeding on probing. Whenever a dentist probes a certain area of the tooth, if during probing the bleeding oozes, then it is marked by a small dot or a tiny dot. So when the dentist was probing this area, he saw that while probing on the mesiobuccal surface, the bleeding occurred, but there was no bleeding on the mid buccal and on the distobuccal surfaces. But in case of 1, 5 and 1, 6, there was bleeding on all the three areas. Now is mobility. As we all know, mobility is of 4 types: grade 0, 1, 2 and 3. In case of 1, 6, there is grade 1 mobility present, then there is furcation involvement. In case of 1, 6, grade 1 type of furcation involvement is there. Then on the lingual surface, now you already know 2, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3. 4 here is not normal. Recession is 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 0, 1. Bleeding on probing is present everywhere. Mobility grade 1 is present on the 1, 6, and there is no furcation involvement on the palatal side. Sometimes buccal surface, then lingual surface, and then mobility and furcation is given, and in this way a chart is given to you. But because my whiteboard is of smaller size, so I had done it separately. Friends, now since we know there is a recession present, the clinical attachment loss, if we want to measure here, it will be, if you remember what was clinical attachment loss, in case recession is present, and recession means when gingival margin is present apical to the cemento-enamel junction. So in this case we always add recession to the probing depth. So here it becomes 5 millimeter, here it becomes 6 millimeter, 4 millimeter. Same way here it becomes 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 3 millimeter and 4 millimeter. But here no recession is present, but probing depth is 4 millimeter. This means that there is that at this point the marginal gingiva is present above the cemento-enamel junction. So in that case the probing depth was measured by subtracting the distance between the gingival margin and the base of the pocket from the probing depth. Up to 3 millimeter we consider it normal, but this is 4 millimeter, so this means 4 minus 3, it comes out to be 1 millimeter. So here 1 millimeter of attachment loss is present. Guys, whenever you are given a question from various scenarios, then you are represented with this perio chart. You should always know how to interpret this perio chart, because if you know how to interpret the perio chart, then it will become very easy for you to diagnose certain situations. For example, necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis. Along with the additional information, for example, there is ulceration of the papilla, there is bad odor from the patient's mouth, you will see that there is bleeding all over present, but there is no bone loss, there is no recession. In that kind of scenario, you will come to the diagnosis of the necrotizing ulcerative gingivitis. I am just giving you the example, but when I will start discussing each and every condition, I will make the perio chart for every clinical condition that might come in the exam. So now let's start with some general terms. For example, healthy periodontium, healthy gingiva on a reduced periodontium, what is gingivitis, what are its features, what is periodontitis, what are their features, and various types of periodontitis in detail. Friends, healthy periodontal status. This means that the periodontium of the patient is in a healthy condition. Healthy condition means that there is no bleeding, there is no bleeding on probing, the color of the gingiva is pink or coral pink, but sometimes depending on the skin color of the patient, it may be somewhat brown or black, but still it is normal. The consistency will be resilient and firm. Stippling may be present, because stippling might not be present even in healthy periodontal status. So the absence of stippling does not mean that patient is having some kind of dental gingival disease. Basically, in a healthy periodontal status, we have all these features. But let's say if in But I have seen a lot of students, they become very choosy when it comes to perio chart. So sometimes in a perio chart, you are given everything in probing depth 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 1, something like that. But randomly at one point, if you have 4 millimeter of probing depth, these kind of scenarios don't come in exam, but students, they are always apprehensive and they want to try out each and every scenario, and they'll just bring out of nowhere these kind of scenarios. Let's say in a perio chart, probing depth was 141516 331 112 341, recession no, bleeding on probing no, there is no mobility, there is no furcation. So sometimes students, they come to this type of scenarios and they ask, what is this situation, what would be the diagnosis? So friends, to make things clear here only, I want to tell you, if you get a random 4 millimeter of pocket and rest everything is normal, there is nothing mentioned in the medical history or chief complaint of the patient pertaining to the gum problem, and there is nothing in the perio chart, we still consider this as healthy periodontal status. Don't get mad at this food, just ignore it. One thing more, let's say this is 331, there is no bleeding, but let's say there is just random one bleeding and everything is normal. Still, just leave this kind of random one spot of bleeding. Now you might ask me why this bleeding has happened. I would still say, I really don't know, but you have come out with this kind of scenario, so you better know. But to make things clear, whenever in a perio chart everything is normal, there is no the probing depth is normal, that is up to 3 millimeter, there is no recession present, and the bleeding on probing is present at less than 10% of sites. Less than means less than 10%, not even equal to 10%. We still consider it healthy periodontal status. There is one more term along with this. It's a healthy gingiva on a reduced periodontium. Reduced periodontium. Guys, I am discussing these things with you because these are different diagnoses that you get in option when it comes to diagnosis from periodontics. Healthy gingiva on a reduced periodontium. What does this mean? Let's say if a patient had periodontitis that had led to the destruction of the alveolar bone, that had led to the recession, but the patient went to dentist. He was very regular when it came to his treatment, so the dentist was able to treat his periodontitis problem. But now, since bone loss has already happened, even recession has happened, but there is no more disease present, or there is no more active disease present. In that kind of patient, we call that condition is, even though the gingiva is healthy, but it is on a reduced periodontium. And how will it represent on a perio chart? It will be something like this. Tooth, let's say 1415 16. Probing depth will be 331 112 333. Bleeding on probing, no. Recession 1 2 1. If nothing is given in the additional information, then you might suspect, of course, there is a recession present everywhere. Although bleeding on probing is not there, but recession is there, so it might be a case of periodontitis because bone loss has happened. But friends, if the examiner wants you to come to the diagnosis of healthy gingiva on a reduced periodontium, then he will definitely give you some additional information. And in the additional information, he might give you something like that patient previously had periodontitis, or patient previously had disease that had led to recession of his gingiva, but now patient is problem free. He went for his treatment and he got his problem cured. When additional information like this is given, and you are presented with a perio chart like this, even though recession is present, but since additional information has already told you that recession is not present, that recession is not because of the problem now which is present now, it was because of the previously cured problem, but it will come on the perio chart like this. So this type of a perio chart, it represents the healthy gingiva on a reduced periodontium. Now let's come to gingivitis. Gingivitis, as you can understand from the name, it means that there is inflammation of the gingiva. Gingivitis, that is inflammation of the gingiva. Various features of clinical features of gingivitis are: first is bleeding on probing. It is a very important feature of gingivitis because the gums are inflamed and bleeding will occur even with the slightest penetration of the periodontal probe. Then the gums may become red, they may become swollen, or they may become friable, and that is, the gums will not be firm anymore. Thus, these are the features of the gingivitis. In case of gingivitis, there is no bone loss. This feature, it differentiates it from periodontitis. In the absence of bone loss, if there is bleeding on probing, redness of the gums is there, swollen gums are there, the gums are friable, we call it gingivitis. But periodontitis, it occurs when the disease continues to progress, then bleeding on probing is there, the gums may become red, or it may even become cyanosed or blue in color or bluish red in color, they may become swollen, they may become friable, and the main feature that differentiates gingivitis from periodontitis or periodontitis from gingivitis is presence of bone loss, or in other terms we may call it presence of clinical attachment loss. Friends, bone loss is of two types. It can be vertical or it can be horizontal. Although for ACJ exam, this type, which type of bone loss is present, it does not matter to us, but it's just for your information that vertical or horizontal type of bone loss can be present when it comes to periodontitis, or they may both be present at the same time. Now let's discuss various types of gingivitis along with the perio chart, and after that we will discuss periodontitis, various types of periodontitis along with their perio chart. Friends, the first situation or the first condition is gingivitis associated with dental plaque only. As you all know that plaque, it consists of the biofilm that has microorganisms in it. Because of the irritation that is presented by the microorganisms to the gingiva, it may become inflamed, and because of the inflammation we call it gingivitis. So the gingivitis that is happened because of the dental plaque, we call it gingivitis associated with dental plaque only. In exam, how you will be presented with the gingivitis with plaque only? So let's say this is the perio chart. Perio chart. The tooth, for example, 1 1, 1 2, 1 3. Probing depth is 2 3 1, 1 1 2, 3 3 3. Bleeding on probing, recession, no recession anywhere, and there is no mobility, and of course since these are anterior teeth, there is no furcation involvement. In exam, if you are given a chart like this and in the additional information nothing is given, or maybe in the chief complaint, patient was telling that I feel some irritation in my gums, or whenever I brush my teeth, it bleeds. Or patient may even say that I feel foul smell from my mouth. That's it, but there is no pain, nothing like that. There is no ulceration of the gingiva. Or patient may say that my gums, they appear slightly swollen, or they may appear red in color. And you are given a perio chart like this. Friends, now let's study how to diagnose these conditions based on the perio chart. The probing depth, everything is normal, that is everything is under 3 millimeter or up to 3 millimeter, which is considered normal. There is no recession present. There is bleeding present almost everywhere. So out of 9 sites, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there are total 9 sites in this perio chart. The bleeding on probing is present at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at 7 sites bleeding on probing is present. Since I had already told you that if everything is normal and bleeding on probing is present at less than 10% of the sites, then we consider it to be normal. But if in the history patient has already told my gums bleed when I brush my teeth, or my gums feel slightly swollen, so in this case the condition is not normal and bleeding is present at 7 sites out of 9 sites, that is at 7 sites out of 9 sites. There is no recession, nothing is given about bone loss, because there is no recession and probing depth is up to 3 millimeter. So this chart represents gingivitis associated with plaque only. Friends, let's draw another perio chart. For additional information, it tells that there was class 3 restoration done 3 years back on the distal surface and there is overhanging margin present, or they may just tell you that patient had class 3 restoration on distal surface, and then in the additional information they show you an X-ray that represents that there is a gingival overhang present on the distal surface of the 1-1, between 1-1 and 1-2. Now friends, the same chart, same history, that patient says my gum bleeds, my gum feels swollen. Now we have to come to the diagnosis. Let's say if this additional information was not given and only this perio chart was presented to you. Now this 4 and this 4, these are not normal, because we know whenever a bone loss is present, because up to 3 millimeter we consider it normal, here 4 represents that there is 1 millimeter of clinical attachment loss here and here. Whenever there is clinical attachment loss or there is bone loss, we know that it is no longer gingivitis, it becomes periodontitis. In case this additional information was not given, this perio chart would have represented chronic periodontitis. But since this additional information has been given to you, there is a reason why the examiner has given you this information, because of the gingival overhang that has led to the destruction of the bone, because of the gingival overhang was impinging on the biological width of the tooth that had led to the bone loss. So this bone loss is not because of the periodontitis, it is because of the local factors that were associated with the gingivitis. So in this scenario, the diagnosis will be gingivitis modified by the local factors. The local factors can be like gingival overhang, or patient may be using toothpicks, so he is constantly irritating his gingiva, that has led to the bone loss. Let's say tooth number 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, bleeding, then there is probing depth of 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, recession, no recession is present. Then there is bleeding on probing. You see bleeding on probing everywhere on the buccal, and let's say the same chart it also is present on the lingual side as well. This is buccal and lingual side, buccal and parietal side, because this is a maxillary perio chart. One thing more, sometimes in the exam, in the additional information it is given this perio chart represents whole of the mouth, and sometimes nothing is given. Friends, when it is given that this perio chart represents whole of the mouth, this means although they have given just these teeth, but consider that everywhere in the mouth pocket depth is under 3 mm, there is no recession, and bleeding on probing is present everywhere. When it comes to periodontitis, I will explain you its importance. Now let's just restrict ourselves to this perio chart, and let's say in the additional information it is given that patient is pregnant and she is in her 3rd trimester, or they may not give this additional information just here, they may have given this information right in the clinical history of the patient. Friends, although this perio chart it looks same like that of the gingivitis, but since the additional information that patient was pregnant and she is in her 3rd trimester, this is given to you, now the diagnosis it changes, because as you know that in case of pregnancy the hormonal changes they exacerbate the inflammation that is present in the gingiva. So in this case the diagnosis will become gingivitis modified by systemic factors, because this systemic factor is because of the endocrine changes. Endocrine changes, that is hormonal changes, they have exacerbated the inflammatory response of the body towards the plaque microorganisms. Other reason for the endocrine changes, like this is first condition can be pregnancy, then it can be puberty as well. As we know that when a child is coming in his puberty or in his adolescence age, the hormonal surge it happens that may lead to increase in the inflammation or inflammatory response of the gingiva. Another thing that can be because of systemic factors is diabetes mellitus. Friends, let's say if in the history it was given that patient is diabetic, just it's given patient is diabetic, they don't say that patient is well controlled or he is poorly controlled, and they have given you a chart like this. Always whenever you want to come to a diagnosis, always read the given information very carefully, because if you forget to read a single word or maybe very important point from the given information, the whole of the diagnosis it might change. So let's say in the history, in the clinical history, it was given that patient is diabetic, and then you were given 2-3 questions, and then a question from the periodontics it came. Always remember to go back to the history whenever you come to a new question, because after 2 or 3 questions you might forget the clinical history of the patient. So since here it's given patient is diabetic, it's not given whether patient is controlled diabetic or he is uncontrolled diabetic. So here is the point: in case patient is diabetic and nothing is given about his condition, whether he is controlled or uncontrolled, always count the number of sites or the bleeding sites. If these are more than 40%, consider this bleeding on probing that it has happened because of the diabetes. Let's see how many sites are there now. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. All of the sites, there are total 9 sites of probing, and everywhere it's bleeding. 9 sites on buccal side and 9 sites on parietal side. So total number of sites are 9 plus 9, they come out to be 18, and everywhere bleeding on probing is present, that is 18 sites have bleeding out of 18 sites, that is 100% of the sites they have bleeding. Patient is diabetic, so now we will call it gingivitis modified by systemic factors. Let's say if in the history it was given patient is controlled diabetic, patient is controlled diabetic, and the chart it represents something like this. Now let's again count the total number of sites. Friends, on the buccal side, total number of probing sites are 3, 3, 6, 3, 9, and bleeding sites are only 2. These are on the buccal, and on the palatal same, that total number of probing sites are 9 plus 9 is equal to 18. Total number of bleeding sites are 1 and 2, 2 on the buccal and 2 on the palatal. These are 4. So 4 out of 18 sites, these are, now we have to calculate what is the percentage. So friends, 4 by 18 is definitely less than 40% of the sites. Since it is less than 40% of the sites, we will not call it as gingivitis modified by systemic factors, we will just call it gingivitis associated with dental plaque only. Let's say if the sites were like this. Now we have total number of bleeding sites 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 on the buccal side and 6 on the palatal side. So these become 12. 12 by 18, which is definitely more than 40% of the sites. Then the diagnosis will become gingivitis modified by systemic factors. In case a patient's age is given 12 or 13 and you get a perio chart like this, please don't consider that gingivitis is because of his puberty, unless in the question they mention that patient is in his adolescence age and because of this he feels there is bleeding in gums or there is swelling in gums. Just depending on the age, that patient is in 12, 13 or 14 years of age, don't come to the diagnosis of gingivitis modified by systemic factors. There are two more situations. One is menstrual cycle, another is oral contraceptives. When it comes to questions from periodontics, they don't ask anything from the menstrual cycle, or they may not, they don't mention anything about menstrual cycle of the patient, but they might give you oral contraceptives in question. So in the history it can be given like patient is taking oral contraceptives for contraception, and she has noticed that the moment she has started her oral contraceptives, she has started feeling bleeding from the gums, or her gums are feeling slightly itchy. Now they have given you enough information pertaining to the oral contraceptives, and let's say the something like this: 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. Probing depth is 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1. Bleeding is like this, and there is no recession present. Friends, since they have already given you information regarding oral contraceptives, they want you to come to the diagnosis of gingivitis modified by systemic factors, because they have already told you that patient is telling that since she has started taking oral contraceptives, she has started feeling itchiness or swelling in her gums, or maybe bleeding from the gums. In case just oral contraceptives was given in the history, but nothing was given like patient is having any kind of problem since she has started taking oral contraceptives, then we will restrict our diagnosis to gingivitis associated with dental plaque only.